Good day, listeners. Today is April Fool's Day, and I thought I would bring you some light-hearted humor. Welcome to the first edition of my podcast. Let me kick off by saying April Fool is a foreign concept. In India, we have Achhe Din. Let's roll into today's story. Once upon a time in a far-off land, there was this really nasty emperor who ruled over a country like an iron-fisted tyrant. He ran a bunch of propaganda to keep his people in line, and he wanted everyone to think he was the greatest thing. He was someone who liked to dress in fine clothes and always wanted to be admired by his subjects. One day, a duo of crafty weavers came to his court and promised to make him a suit of clothes that was so fine it would only be seen by the wise and the intelligent. The emperor was intrigued and gave the weavers a large sum of money to make the clothes. Weeks went by, and finally the weavers returned with the suit. However, when the emperor looked at it, he saw nothing but air. The weavers had made no suit at all. But the emperor was too proud to admit he could not see the suit and was so full of himself that he fell for it, pretended to admire it, and ordered a grand procession throughout the city to show off his new clothes. He strutted around in his invisible clothes for everyone to see and waving out to the crowd, ensuring that the cameraman covered him from all angles. As the emperor paraded through the streets, his subjects marveled at the fine clothes, afraid to admit that they too could not see anything. Finally, a little boy in the crowd shouted out, "But the emperor has no clothes!" The people suddenly realized the truth and began to laugh at the emperor. The emperor was embarrassed and ashamed, but he continued to pretend that he could see the clothes. However, the people never forgot this incident and began to question the emperor's judgment and leadership. And as you might guess, things didn't turn out so well for the emperor in the end. From that day on, the people of the land learned that sometimes their leader could be blinded by their own pride and ambition. They realized that they must always question what they are told and stand up for the truth, no matter how difficult it may be. They realize that he will never change, no matter how many times he is exposed. So they join forces to overthrow him and create a better society. The story teaches us that no number of lies can hide the truth forever, and that justice will eventually win out. Now, I will leave it to your imagination to work out who the emperor, the duo of crafty weavers, and for that matter the new clothes were, for crying out loud. Moving on, I'd like to ask you a question. How many times have you been fooled, even if it's not April Fool's Day? Let's talk about propaganda, my friends. You may have come across election campaign videos trying to sell you something by showing only the good stuff and hiding the bad. Good old marketing. Well, I watched one of these propaganda videos the other day that was trying to promote the idea that this government, the current government, is the only capable of achieving success. But let me tell you, it was not only inaccurate, but it was also pretty misleading. I wish they had been a little honest and talked about failures too, just so that it appeared real. For instance, they were talking about the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan and claiming how it had made India open defecation free. But guess what? That's not entirely true. A whopping 21% of the country still struggle with the issue. And don't even get me started on the slew of welfare schemes which was piled up as slogans for effect in the video. Because there's nothing to show. Sure, they have been launched, but they lack the follow-through and the implementation, resulting in poor success and has left many people without the intended benefits. Just focusing on a few that I come to my mind immediately. The Ujjwala Yojana was meant to provide financial support for gas connections, but with super high cylinder prices, it has become so difficult for the poor to afford refills. Similarly, for small and medium businesses who have suffered with tens and thousands shutting down due to demonetization and COVID and no access to funds. This has led to high unemployment and lower GDP contributions, impacting countless lives. And let's not forget about the COVID-19 pandemic. The government's response was pretty lackluster to say the least. I mean, we had floating bodies in the Ganga, for heaven's sake. Plus, the focus on the 5 trillion economy goal seems to be a bit misguided when there are 80 crore people dependent on the government for their sustenance. And promises of 15 lakhs in bank accounts, 2 crore jobs each year, and doubling farmer incomes turning out to be mere jumlas. Well, you know what they say? Politicians make promises like dogs make mess on the lawn. It's all about marking their territory and trying to win over the masses. But once they are in office, these promises often go straight to the trash. It's like they think the voters have the attention span of a goldfish or something. Lest we forget. So the lesson here is to be critical of propaganda and to seek out multiple sources of information. Blindly accepting propaganda can lead to some pretty harmful consequences, and we don't want that. So stay informed, stay vigilant, and don't let these propaganda videos fool you. Say goodbye to fake news and say hello to truth bombs with the hashtag BJP Busted. Also, let me know if you'd be interested to review some of these schemes in upcoming podcasts. There are so many of them. And let me add, this government's only foolproof fallback is the Hindu card. When you believe in something, fight for it. And when you see injustice, fight harder than you have ever before. And that's what I'd like to spotlight in the last few minutes of what was the black day of democracy, where constitutional freedom of speech was curtailed and the whole system was up in arms trying to mute democracy. The events that happened in the aftermath of a certain speech in the Lok Sabha were a few direct, clear and open questions with no scope for misinterpretation led to the unfair disqualification and a battery of smear campaigns against this man. He has, will, and remain the voice of reason, speaking the truth, fighting for the Constitution and for people's rights. His disqualification may be the biggest bolt on our democracy because it was driven by pure political vendetta. Perhaps these few lines sum up our feelings. मेरे देश के दौर में इकबाल आया है, मेरे देश में जाकर अब इनकलाब आया है. पहले वो धूल धूप तूफान से लड़ा, अब जाकर सियासत के सामने खड़ा. जागो रे देश के मतवाले दीवानों, तुम्हारे देश में फिर आएगा परवाना. चल पड़ा है हौसला लिए चट्टानों से टकराने, हर दीवार को चीर दी है सर ऊंचा और सीना थाने. सिर्फ तेज हवा नहीं एक घनघोर गरजती आंधी है, बुलंद हमारा इरादा करता हमारा राहुल गांधी है. This person is shining light on the dark forces of corruption and hate. He is the defender of democracy and the glue that holds society together, uniting people from all walks of life in the fight for truth and justice. He is fearlessly standing up against lies, trolls of corruption and hate. His efforts bring hope and inspiration to many like me who believe in a future, a better future. His unwavering commitment to unity and equality is a reminder that we are stronger when we stand together against the forces of darkness. That's all, folks. Say goodbye to fake propaganda and say hello to truth bombs with the hashtag BJP Busted. You will find them on my timeline. Retweet and share them with your network. Meet you in the next video, and in the meantime, if you like what you heard, let me know by liking this video or sharing your views, and follow me for more. Happy Saturday.